At one point in time, everyone could get pretty nearsighted only looking at FANMAG stocks and Tesla. But Canada has a lot of high-growth technology companies that produce fantastic investment gains this decade. Although they're not as well known as US tech stocks, they're worth considering if you're tired of converting your money back and forth through the foreign exchange, or maybe you want to have a stake in a growing Canadian company. For a quick answer, the best Canadian technology investment this decade was Constellation Software, and in the last 5 years, it was Shopify. But stay tuned to also check out the other 5 amazing technology companies, most whose stocks have risen by more than 1,000% or 10 times this decade, to see what they actually do, what they're up to next, and exactly how much you would have made investing in each. So in no particular order, here we go. Shopify. Headquartered in Ottawa, the company is a cloud-based e-commerce platform for businesses around the world. The platform provides business owners simple tools to build their business online and also a single view of their entire operations, from the online storefront, inventory, fulfilling orders, data analytics, and customer communications. As of today, Shopify's success has made it Canada's largest company, having recently surpassed RBC and TD Bank. At its current size, it could theoretically buy Scotia, BMO, and CIBC together. Shopify has a market cap of $154 billion, 2019 revenues of $2 billion, and 5,000 employees. Here's growth from the prior 12 months. As for revenues, they operate globally, so the distribution is like this. US represents roughly 70% of what they generate. Currently, the company is ramping up its business by bringing the platform and selling network to more countries. They're investing in warehouse and order fulfillment capabilities to increase the speed of their shipping and lowering their costs. They're also growing their lending business to help merchants accelerate their progress. $10,000 invested this last decade, or 2015 when they started, would have grown to $384,700. That's a return on investment of 3,747% and an annualized growth of 105%. If just the last 5 years, the results are exactly the same. TECSYS. Nothing to do with TCS is a Montreal-based provider of warehouse management and distribution technology solutions to supply chains around the world. These companies are some of TCS's more recognized clients. As of today, they are the market leader in healthcare and also focus on manufacturing, logistics, and retail industries. They have a market cap of $346 million, 2019 revenues of $76 million, and 408 employees. Here's growth from the prior 12 months. Its sales are distributed globally like this, with North America making almost 95% of it. Currently, the company is focused on integrating its 2 recently acquired companies into its operations and is growing them. That means the company is focused on expanding its business in Europe and clients in the retail industry. $10,000 invested this last decade would have grown to $142,900, which is an ROI of 1,329% and an annualized growth of 30.2%. If just the last 5 years, it would be $27,800, which is an ROI of 178% and 22.3% per year. Kinaxis. They're an Ottawa-based provider of cloud software solutions to help companies with their supply chain planning decisions. These companies are some of Kinaxis' more recognized clients. Unlike other tech companies helping supply chains, it only targets manufacturing companies with over $1 billion in revenues in aerospace and defense, automotive, consumer products, high technology, industrial and life sciences, and pharmaceutical industries. They have a market cap of $5.1 billion, 2019 revenues of $192 million, and 662 employees. Here's growth from the prior 12 months. Its sales are distributed globally like this, with North America making 65% of it. Currently, the company's focus is on expanding its client list with the 6 industry categories, doing more business with existing clients, and developing new technologies to improve their capabilities. $10,000 invested this last decade, or since they started in 2014, would have grown to $145,300, which is an ROI of 1,353% and an annualized growth of 56.2%. If just the last 5 years, it would be $62,700, which is 527% and 43.5% per year. Tucows, or Tucows, is a Toronto-based provider of mobile and internet network access in the US, as well as domain name registration and services. The company's main network brand is Ting, which has roughly 270,000 mobile users and 11,000 internet users. For domains, they are the world's 2nd largest domain registrar, with brands collectively managing over 24 million domains. They have a market cap of $833 million, 2019 revenues of $458 million, and 663 employees. Here's growth from the prior 12 months. In terms of revenues, their network access is US only, and their domain business is both Canada and the US. Right now, the company uses a network infrastructure owned by Sprint, T-Mobile, and Verizon. But cost-saving plans are in progress to transition to Verizon from T-Mobile. They're also optimizing their costs for their domains and looking to add additional services for clients. Overall, they're taking their profits and investing more into their Ting internet. $10,000 invested this last decade would have grown to $285,600, which is an ROI of 2,756% and an annualized growth of 39.4%. If just the last 5 years, it would be $22,900, which is 129% and 17.7% per year. Enghouse. They're a Toronto-based provider of enterprise software solutions that focuses on improving a client's ability at remote work, visual computing, and communications. As for its clients, it works with companies in a variety of different industries. They have a market cap of $4 billion, 2019 revenues of $385 million, and 1,680 employees. Here's growth from the prior 12 months. As for sales, they operate globally, so it's distributed like this, with US still the most, but other geographies having a high concentration. Currently, the company is very focused on acquiring new companies that have complementary technologies in the industries it works in. Adding to this, they're focused on reducing costs by integrating acquired companies into their operations. In the last decade, the company has spent over $370 million on acquisitions and has bought 26 companies since inception. $10,000 invested this last decade would have grown to $201,300. That's an ROI of 1,913% and an annualized growth of 34%. If just the last 5 years, it would be $28,000, which is 180% and 22.5% per year. Constellation Software. They're a Toronto-based company that provides various software solutions and services to specific industries in the public and private sectors. The company is divided into these 6 main divisions, each focusing on technology for specific sectors, and they're managed independently from each other. Valeris, Harris, and TSS focus on the public sector, like governments and education. Jonas, Perseus, and Vela focus on the private sector, like hospitality, financial institutions, and manufacturing. They have a market cap of $32.5 billion, 2019 revenues of $3.5 billion, and 23,000 employees. Here's growth from the prior 12 months. As for sales, they operate globally and it's distributed like this, with US and Europe making 78% of it. Right now, Constellation primarily focuses on buying smaller technology companies, typically around $25 to $100 million in size, and they have to have a recurring revenue business model that can generate return on investments of 15 to 20% every year through the profit it generates. Constellation then provides support and guidance to the companies while letting them operate autonomously. In the last decade, the company spent over $2.5 billion on acquisitions and has made over 260 acquisitions since inception. $10,000 invested this last decade would have grown to $437,900, which is a return on investment of 4,279% and an annualized growth of 45.5%. If just the last 5 years, it would be $31,100, which is 211% and 25% per year. Descarte. They're a Toronto-based provider of cloud software solutions for logistics-intensive businesses. It focuses on carriers, governments, shippers, and intermediary companies. These are some of its more recognized clients, spanning in a variety of different industries. They have a market cap of $6 billion, 2019 revenues of $326 million, and 1,550 employees. Here's growth from the prior 12 months. As for sales, they operate globally and it's distributed like this, with the US making 63% of it. Currently, the company is very focused on acquiring new companies that have complementary technologies in the industries it focuses on. Since 2014, the company has spent $1 billion acquiring 23 companies. Adding to this, they're focused on reducing costs and integrating the acquired companies into their operations. $10,000 invested this last decade would have grown to $119,800. That's an ROI of 1,098%. And an annualized growth of 27.9%. If just the last 5 years, it would be $37,900, which is 279% and 30% per year. So here's a summary of how much you would have made with an investment in each company in the last 5 and 10 years. The order is from the smallest to largest company. At the bottom shows a comparison with the Canadian Technology ETF and US Technology ETF converted to Canadian dollars. In the last 5 years, the companies on the list generated on average 200% returns, which is an annualized return of 23%. You would have gotten really similar results with either the Canadian or US Tech ETF. In the last 10 years, the companies generated around 1,900% returns, which is an annualized return of 34%. The ETFs were good, but still far from those results at around 500% returns and an annualized growth of 20%. The reason why this happens is because when you look at the top holdings of the ETFs, they're mostly invested in the largest companies or when companies become a large size. So they miss out from most of the early gains when companies are young and in their highest revenue growth phase. For example, in the Canadian ETF, The top 5 names are the biggest tech companies in Canada, and they represent 85% of the ETF portfolio. In the US, the top 10, which are all super big companies, make up 50%. Here's some operational data showing all the company's sales, employees, and sales per employee. The actual sales are fairly low compared to their market size, but they have been growing a lot, so we can expect some runway still. But more convincing is the good growth in the number of employees, meaning there's a lot of hiring going on to support more business. The average Canadian tech company on the list hired around 15% more people this past year, so I would think that they would expect sales to grow at similar rates or higher. As for how efficient employees are, the average employee represents $230,000 in sales, and this has been increasing for most companies, particularly the larger ones on the list. This might signal that they are becoming more efficient or automated and don't need to hire as many people to keep growing. So that's all for now. If you enjoyed this video or learned something new, remember to click the like button and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Let me know in the comments below what technology stocks you're investing in, and I'll see you next time.